Hey guys, how's it going? Another podcast here for Nightmare Wrestling Podcast. It is December 19th, 9:30 on the dot. I'm sure everybody is putting the finishing touches on their holiday plans, their shopping, and their trips. If you're traveling, you might want to try to do that quickly as we have this storm that's supposed to be barreling down towards the East Coast, a mix of snow and rain. But here in New York, at least for my area, it's supposed to be mostly rain. A little disappointed, thought you could get the white Christmas, or white Christmas Eve anyway. Also, I have two Huskies, and one I got earlier this year, the other I got last year, and, they never really got their big snowstorm that they got to run around and really, be in their husky element. They haven't gotten that opportunity. So I was like, okay, if we get this big storm, they can get that little experience. So unfortunately, I have to wait a little longer. But seriously though, if you are traveling, hopefully you travel. Hopefully you have safe travels. You don't get stuck in the airport or stuck on the roads if you're driving. So if you are traveling, maybe you can make that change and head out now. But what this episode is about, this one's not going to be too long. This one's going to be about the recently released Mandy Rose. And fun fact on that is that I worked with her cousin for a couple of years. I actually saw her cousin, I think the last time I saw her cousin, I believe was we're in 22. I think, yes, was last year. Because I see her in Sam's Club by me a couple of times. And I saw her, and I just heard her on the phone. I didn't even see her face, but I just knew the voice. And just like the tone of what I'm like, I know, I don't want to say her name, but I know who that is. So, and we talked about her cousin. I said, your cousin's doing pretty well because even before I left, I believe she had mentioned that her cousin was doing some sort of training for wrestling. I believe she had told me what her real name was in passing. And then much later on, she was in NXT doing a training, or I think she got into the show Tough Enough, I think. I don't actually remember how she got up there. But I just remember talking to another coworker, like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so's cousin. And then, so anyway, I know her cousin. She's a very, very nice woman, very sweet woman. I really enjoy working with her. I miss her. I do have her number, but I really don't text them as much as I should as far as my old coworkers. You see how much trouble I have keeping up with this. But I do want to fall back on it. But, it's not something to be like, hey, I heard your cousin got released, so how's she doing, But it sounds like she's actually doing okay. So what I wanted to talk about was, because this was a discussion that my friend told me he was having with somebody else at his job who was also a wrestling fan. And the discussion was, why can't the wrestlers have their side hustle? And I had said to him, if he remember, and if you all remember, during the pandemic, I believe it was early 21, when Vince McMahon was still running things, an edict did come out that they had to refrain from doing any third-party platforms. And he remembered, he's like, but, it's not fair. Why can't they do this? Especially how, a lot of them wasn't working during the pandemic. I said, well, that's true, but, you don't know how their contract is structured. You don't know if McMahon was still paying them. I mean, he probably wasn't because he was releasing a lot of them. But, the point is, and I was trying to say to him, because I agree, why can't these guys have a side hustle? And I guess it's going further to the fact of, why can't they have a side hustle without WWE sticking their hands in it? And there is a case to be made. Well, not a case to be made. It's a fact that, these guys and girls are using their wrestling names. And here's a good example. Selena Vega. Selena Vega was released because she refused to give up her, I think it was her Twitch. And if I get some of these names wrong, I apologize. I'm not a social media person. So some of these things I never even heard of, like the one Mandy Rose was using, I never heard of it. But a lot of these guys were using Twitch. And Selena Vega fought back and didn't want to. And what happened? They released her. Because perhaps, just like we heard with Mandy Rose, she was probably making more money doing that than from her contract. Look at Soraya, aka Paige. She even mentioned that she went through that. When everything happened, that she couldn't wrestle anymore, they had her as an on-screen manager and all this stuff. They wanted her to give up her Twitch. But she's like, I'm not being used. I think this was more so during her general manager time. I'm not really being, used that much. Okay, you put me with Asuka and Kabuki Warriors. That was going good for a while, but then that got less and less. And now you guys just have me sitting home. I have to do something. I believe, yes, she was still getting paid, but again, she probably wasn't getting paid as much. And this was helping to supplement her income. And they told her she couldn't do it. And that was one of the reasons why she didn't want to go back or didn't want to resign with them. Or I think maybe they cut her. I don't remember. But I just know that was a battle with her and WWE. And it came a battle with Selena Vega. Look at Xavier Woods. He used to do his whole video game. I don't even think he does it anymore. Same thing with AJ Styles. He did the same thing. I don't think these guys are doing it anymore because WWE put the kibosh on it. And clearly this rule hasn't changed since Vince left. Now, Vince Russo came out not too long ago, I think it was yesterday, maybe Friday, saying that, well, Mandy Rose, most likely had a warning before they just up and fired her because, you have to be written up all that kind of stuff. I disagree with that because, again, this was known already. This wasn't something new that was just sprung on them that, hey, you can't have these third-party platforms. This was out at least a year and a half ago. And you saw what happened with Selena Vega. You saw what happened with Soraya. You clearly see that Xavier Woods is not doing it anymore. You don't see AJ Styles doing it. So, or if they're still doing it, they're not doing it as much, or there's some agreement that was worked out with WWE that they're getting a piece of what they're doing. Now, to say that, she, she had to get the warning. I don't know if they came to her and said, listen, da 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 da. I mean, maybe they did come and say, hey, you know the rules about this. And she just ignored them. Now, you could also say that they did know about it and they were okay with it until apparently she put some more explicit pictures up. And now listen, I hadn't seen the pictures. I haven't gone looking for the pictures. These pictures weren't leaked. So I guess you have to go to her thing. I don't know what it was called, Fan Time or whatever. It's supposed to be like a knockoff of OnlyFans. I didn't go looking for it. I didn't sign up. I'm not really interested in seeing it. I have much more important things to do than sit there and look at, a naked, look at a naked woman. But you know what I'm saying. I'm not gonna, go crazy looking for something that, I'm not trying to brag that for all of us we have seen. Hopefully, some of you have seen, in your life. Okay, we all know what a naked woman looks like. Okay, yes, I know Mandy Rose. Yes, she is gorgeous. Maybe it's more out of respect because I know her family, but I didn't go out of my way to look for the pictures. Honestly, I just wasn't interested. I could care less because I have other much more important things to do than to rush through a computer to sit here and try to find her freaking pictures. I don't know if they were naked pictures. I don't know. All I know is just that apparently they were explicit in tone. And as you know, WWE, even though they're somewhat edging towards a still watered down version of, mature wrestling, they're still catering to the kids. So clearly what she was doing does not tie into what the company is doing as far as, keeping it clean for the kids. Now you can make the argument, well, are kids really going to look for this? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds? Probably not. But you have your 11-year-olds who know how to work the computer pretty well. You have your 12 and 13, 14-year-olds who will easily get access to find this stuff. It's not beyond that some 15-year-olds might have an emergency credit card that they're that the father maybe put on the phone, so when they're out somewhere they can just quickly do that. I'm not saying to give them the card, but you can put the stuff on your phone and just tap. And who's not to say that a father or somebody said, okay, why you're 15 years old, don't I'll drop you off at the movie theater, whatever. You have a limit of $50 to buy your movie ticket, to eat your lunch with your friends or whatever. So it's not hard to get the information off the phone to go look for the website and put the information on. Okay, it's not that hard. It's not that hard for them to sneak into their parents' wallet, take their card, and type in their number. It's not hard to do that. Now you have to explain what those charges are, but it's not hard for it. Now I don't know if WWE went that far down the rabbit hole, but clearly these pictures was a problem for them, and they released Mandy Rose. As you know, her title reign ended. She had like a 400-day title reign as NXT Women's Champion. I, was surprised that she lost. I thought that they probably would have did. I mean, listen, I'm not really following NXT, but I just didn't put that connection together that she lost and then she was fired the next day. I mean, clearly they knew. Now, was that in the plans all along for her to lose her title? I don't know. But back to the original point that I was saying, is this fair for them to do this? My answer to my friend is yes. Because you are not using your real name. You are using your wrestling name. Selena Vega, Mandy Rose. That's WWE intellectual property. And but for the fact of you being a WWE personality, nobody knows who you are, and you're probably not going to generate the clicks, the views, and the revenue that you're generating if you were not part of them. You're on TV every week. Millions of people know who you are. So that helps drive that traffic. So yes, I can see Vince and now Stephanie saying, hey, you're using our property to get what you're doing. Now, I don't know if they tried to switch it and they went to their real name. Would that still work? That's probably a gray area. That's probably something that, if it really went out of hand and they took it to court, maybe that's something that the wrestler will win. Because they're probably saying, hey, I'm not using, excuse me, I'm not using, Selena Vega. I'm using my real name, which I believe her name is Thea. I'm going by Thea, whatever, and I think Mandy Rose's real name, if I believe, is begins with an A. I think it's Amanda. So if I'm going by Amanda, if I'm going by Thea, I'm not using your property. Now, WWE's argument could be, okay, but we've enhanced this person through, our resources. We've enhanced this person. Okay, but then a flip could be, well, you enhanced Mandy Rose. You did not enhance Amanda whatever. You enhanced Selena Vega, but you didn't enhance Thea, whatever her name is. So maybe that's what they have to do to get around it. I mean, the same thing happened with, I think her real name is C.J. Perry. Lana. She went through the same thing, that they wanted her to stop with her Twitch and everything else that she was doing her streaming because that was helping her make money. And I believe it was either earlier, I think it was last year, late last year, maybe it was earlier this year, that they released how much money some of these guys were making off of their Twitch and whatever else that they were doing. So, and the fact that Mandy was making more money from this, maybe she did say, all right, fuck it. You going to fire me? Fucking fire me. But I'm making more money doing this. And, that says something that she's making more money posting pictures, okay, than working for WWE. I get she was in there, and I know you can't see, but I'm doing air quotes, the minor leagues of WWE, or their developmental, as Triple H conveniently called it in an interview not so long ago when AEW was beating them. But just the fact that they're making more money off of that, and you're telling me that these guys are signing 3, 4, 5 year deals, but yet they're still making more money. They're still making more money, doing Twitch and having and streaming themselves playing video games. I mean, come on, that's embarrassing. That should be embarrassing to WWE that your people are making more money by just in the privacy of their home taking pictures of themselves. And listen, I don't fault that. I've always said I'm on the side of capitalism. You know, more power to you if you're making money. You're not hurting anybody. And again, back to the whole kid thing. It's like, well, watch your kid, make sure your kid doesn't find this stuff. And I do agree with that sentiment. Like I said, you can have a kid who is 13, 14, 15 years old, who is smart with a computer, who knows where mom and dad keeps their credit card, and can go in, find a website, punch in the number, and next thing you know, they got the pictures. And somebody out there, because you always hear about these frivolous lawsuits, somebody out there will say, WWE is responsible. Look what my kids saw. My kid's traumatized now, or I'm traumatized, and I'm going to sue WWE because you allowed this person who works for you to put these pictures. It sounds ridiculous, but come on. We hear about ridiculous lawsuits all the time. So I think it's unfortunate that Mandy Rose was released. Now, as you saw, Selena Vega came back. She didn't come back right away. But, if I'm Mandy Rose, I wouldn't go back to WWE. So that's why this podcast is entitled, Will Mandy Rose Be All Elite? Because AEW, is not as stringent as WWE in a sense of keeping their talents on a short leash. I mean, remember the story that, the late Scott Hall told, back in the day before he left for WCW, that he wanted to go work, in Japan, but Vince wouldn't let him. But look at FTR. Look at Chris Jericho. Look at Jon Moxley. They've done stuff for New Japan Wrestling. They've gone on and wrestled different things. FTR is doing things in Mexico. So there's leeway. And I believe Tony Khan said that if these guys are doing some streaming platform, that they're not going to touch it. Now, I don't know if there's some rule in the AEW contracts that, you can't cross this and that line. So maybe, if you're thinking about hiring a Mandy Rose, you're probably going to have to go and look at her pictures and see what she's posting on the website. Again, I haven't seen the pictures, but the way it was reported, it was, more the sexual content. I don't know if her husband was involved. I don't know. I don't know if she was topless. I don't know if she was fully naked. I have no idea. But the way it was described it was definitely much more explicit than what she was posting previously. That probably WWE was okay with. Maybe. Maybe they knew about it, but they just didn't say anything. I don't know. And then again, there could have been an arrangement already that we don't know about, that they were taking a piece of it. I don't know. But it got her released. That's all I know. But if I was Mandy Rose, wait out your compete clause, which is usually 90 days. And if AEW rings my phone, I go to AEW. Because, first of all, you guys know how I feel about AEW's women's division. It sucks. The only star is Britt Baker. Yes, you have Saraya there now, but, she has some rebuilding to do as far as her wrestling equity goes. Yes, we know her name. Yes, she had a very great, story. Everybody's happy that she's cleared, able to get her wrestling career back. It's a great thing. We see all these guys coming back. You see Edge coming back. You see Big Show trying to come back, and you see Christian came back. Great. Now we're hoping that Adam Cole can come back. He's been out for a while. He had a very bad concussion. Hopefully he can come back. We thought Alexa Bliss was going to be gone. Fortunately, she was able to come back. Dolph Ziggler, same thing. He was having a lot of concussions, and thankfully he's able to, to wrestle. So, Saraya has a great story. Great that she came back, but she has to rebuild that wrestling equity, in my opinion. And I think adding somebody of Mandy Rose, especially just coming off of that reign of 400 days and putting on some I hadn't seen all her matches, but putting on some damn good fucking matches, improving very well from when she first started. Excuse me, when she first started, AEW would be smart to pick her up and use her and the former Ember Moon, because they just completely fucked that up. You have Ember Moon, you have maybe a Mandy Rose, you have a Britt Baker, you have Soraya, possibly you'll have a Sasha Banks. Use that to start really building that women's division, because it sucks. It sucks. And Britt Baker can't keep carrying that shit on her shoulder by herself. So, Tony Khan, if I was you, I would have Mandy Rose's number already. And when that 90-day hits, I start sending out some feelers. I start calling her and say, hey, let's talk. But I agree with WWE wanting to have a hand in what they're doing, because you're using their intellectual property. Now, I don't know what it's like. Let's say John Cena was doing this, back in the day, because John Cena's real name is John Cena. So I don't know how that really works, because how can you tell me I can't use my own name? Now, maybe you can't have the hat and the T-shirt and the armbands, because, okay, that's WWE John Cena. But, if you just went on, just like in a tank top and no hat, maybe that's skirting it. But I'm sure they would have worked out something anyway, because they're going to say, well, again, your popularity is based off of the WWE machine that's behind you. And that's the same thing with Selena Vega, Mandy Rose, and all that. Nobody knows who you are if it was not for us. Nobody's going to know who the hell you are, and your thing would not be successful. So yes, we're going to take it. Now, how much do they take? I don't know. But if I remember when they were talking about it and releasing the memos and all that stuff, I believe it said you had to stop, or you would discuss or have a discussion with them, which reading between the lines meant, okay, we'll let you keep doing this, but we're going to take a cut. And how big of a cut, I don't know. But it looks like everybody just stopped doing it. They just shut it down, period. So, unfortunately, Mandy Rose is gone. But again, maybe not, because she's doing okay. And I'm quite sure for those who didn't know that she had this site, they know now. And I'm quite sure within the last couple of days, her website has gotten a pretty good bump in subscriptions. Because all the guys are going to want to see, and some girls, are going to want to see what the hubbub is about. That's what they're going to go do. But Mandy, I would be open. Maybe I'll call your cousin and tell her, hey, tell Mandy, if AEW is sniffing around, be open to listen. If she wants to keep this site. Because I don't see her coming back if she keeps this site or keeps those pictures up. I don't see it. And now she's free. She might be more emboldened to take it a step further with her pictures. But listen, that's what this world is. It's been like this for God knows how long. Sex sells. Okay? As much as people want to criticize that and look down on it, come on. Sex sells. It always has, and it always will. That's just how it is. And you can say that's not right, whatever. But that's just how it is. Sex sells. So yes, put a beautiful woman half naked on something, or in a provocative manner, or just a beautiful person, period. Your product is going to sell. Get a guy, good looking guy, chiseled body, whatever you sell it, you're going to attract the viewers of the women. You're going to get some guys who say, fuck, I want to look like that. And they'll start getting into stuff to help them look like the guy that's on the billboard, or the guy that their girlfriend or wife is drooling over, and vice versa. That's just how it is. And I don't, look down on Mandy for what she's doing. I don't look down on anybody who has whatever that thing is called, fan time or OnlyFans. I don't look down on anybody who does that, because that's your business if you want to do that. And you're smart because you know people are going to go for it. And I don't think it should necessarily cost you your job, depending on what you're doing. Like in this case with Mandy, I don't think it should have costed her job. I think there should have been a conversation. Again, this was not a surprise to her, and she took it one step further. So maybe yes. So maybe Russo. Maybe thinking back. Maybe Russo was correct. Maybe somebody said, "Hey, we've known about that site. We didn't say anything to you, but we just know you put some explicit pictures up, and that's a problem." And maybe somebody reported it. You know, because let's say she had this in secret. Somebody said something. You know what I mean? It's like, well, how did this whole thing get started in the first place? But whether it's right or wrong to cost a person their job, that could be debatable. Like here's an example. Here in New York, there's a small news channel called Spectrum One News, and this happened maybe 3 months ago. So Spectrum One News, I'm at work. They played a lot downstairs in the kitchen area, and when I'm eating my breakfast or eating lunch, I'll go online. I'll read the news just to see what's going on, and I see this. I see the guy. I can't think of the guy's name, but I see. I'm like, I know that name, and I read the article, and it's the weather guy who's on Spectrum One News. So he gets fired because he was doing like these chat rooms, which I didn't even know chat rooms were still around, um, and doing webcams or whatever. And he's a he's a gay man in New York, and he was doing sexually explicit things, taking pictures, making comments, doing live chats with people, whatever. Okay, somebody took still photos of him. I guess while they were talking to him or whatever, took the photos and sent it to his mother, I believe, and also sent it to his work. And then his job fired him. And I disagree with firing him because yes, he's doing these videos, he's taking pictures, but he is doing that in the privacy of his own home. He's not doing that in the office. He's not doing that in his boss's office. He's not doing it in the bathroom on the premises of his employment. He's not doing it live on TV. He is in his home, as Neo once said, doing grown up shit. And now you have some asshole who wants to be a jerk, who maybe contacted him, and maybe the guy never answered him, maybe the guy blew him off, but for whatever, or just wanted to get back at him because he doesn't like gay people, but for whatever reason, took it upon himself to take these photos of him, which he is trying to find out who did that, take these photos of him, and not only send it to his work, but send it to his mother. Why would you want to do that? Why do you want to tear this person down? If you didn't like what he was doing, don't look at what he's doing. And I asked several people, would you have fired him? And I think out of the people that I asked, I think only one said yes, they would have, and everybody else said no. I'm sorry. One said they would fire him. One said they weren't sure, and all the others said that they wouldn't have fired him. But again, you're doing this in your own home. And clearly he was doing it for some time, and you never knew about it until this guy blew the whistle. Now, he came up with a lengthy statement, criticizing himself, saying he should have used better judgment, all that stuff. And I don't know, because he was a TV personality, all that stuff. And yes, you're on TV. Yes, people are going to come and try to get you, but I don't know. I just disagree with the firing of him. Obviously, I disagree with whoever that person was that took the pictures and sent this stuff out to make the guy lose his job. It's just disgusting. So maybe that happened with Mandy Rose. Maybe somebody took pictures and said, hey, WB, look what your NXT Women's Champion is doing. And then that's how they confronted her. Who knows? That's just speculation that they knew about it. And on my part, they just didn't say anything until these pictures came up. I don't know. But there's no more Mandy Rose. Maybe she'll be AEW bound. Maybe she'll be New Japan bound. Maybe she'll be Impact Wrestling. Or maybe she's just going to take some time off to herself. Who knows? But I think AEW could really use her. But again, there's no more Mandy Rose for now. Maybe she'll be back in the future. Who knows? But that's it for that. Just want to talk about the release of Mandy Rose and where we may or may not see her going down the road.